Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be with you. Another amazing Spiritual Rockstar podcast show. Yes, it's a hot summer. Look at my hair, even. I'm kind of crazy for those of you on video. And just, all that hotness, it just makes my hair frizz out. That's what they tell me anyway. It frizzes your hair out and everything. It's crazy. So, but we've got just a crazy, awesome guest today. AJ is here with us, and he's a very powerful coach, probably one of the best in the world, no doubt about it, and just a very powerful presence. He does amazing transformational work and business work with people, and he is going to be talking about helping you move through burnout, because I have a feeling what he's going to say about burnout, and I can't wait to get into it with him. But it's not, it may not all be what you think. There's other hidden reasons for burnout. I have a feeling we're going to touch on some of those. It's just a hunch of mine. But we're going to get into that, and so that you could actually break through any burnout. We all experience some level of burnout in our life and business from time to time, and we want to help you with that to move to the other side. So AJ, I'm so grateful you're here.
I'm happy to be here, man. And and you talked about how the sun has made your hair frizzy. I thought you were going to go the direction that it melted off. I didn't know if it thought it melted off.
Oh, right off my head. It just slid right off. Yeah, it's probably some of that too. All right. Okay, so AJ is here to help you to go to your next best version of you. He's a best-selling author and one of the top coaches in the world by the awesome work he does. And he also has an amazing business. He's built an amazing business. He's done it by being himself, by being connected to who he really is and to his spirit. And so today again, we're talking about these, practical steps, not just a bunch of blither blather, right? So we're going to actually get into some practical steps here about burnout. First, I just want to talk to you about that. There's all the common, ideas around burnout and burnout because, man, marketing's hard, for the business people, or I'm just so burnt out. I've been sending out these emails for 20 years now or whatever. And I'm burned out on launches. I'm burned out on, trying to get clients maybe, or, because we have a variety of audience. But when someone says, hey, I'm really burned out in my business right now, what are some of the top, things that you see people are burned out by, when it specifically to the business, for those that are tuning in about that subject today?
Yeah, great question. What I find time and time again, it really boils down to one simple thing. It's they've become disconnected from themselves. They completely have lost themselves in the process of trying to build whatever they were building. And it's different things for different people, because some people come to the other side of or to burnout because they have actually built everything that they've wanted to build, right? Others, maybe they just keep trying and they kind of relate to it like, I've never arrived. But for even a lot of those people, they've arrived multiple times, but they're running this constant success equation, which is like, well, when I have ABC or when I become XYZ, then I will feel alive or have meaning or purposeful or joyous, right? But if we look at some of the greatest people who have created things over a long period of time, they create things just because it's what brings them joy. Like the process of creating or playing at the level that they do, it really is what brings them joy. And when somebody's doing the very thing that brings them joy, there's kind of this infinite supply of life force, this infinite supply of spirit within the body, or we just start becoming a vessel for it. Some people call this flow, right? And so just to answer the question succinctly, it's just like, well, what's the cause of burnout? I really believe it seems to be people just become disconnected from themselves.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. Yeah, I would say that's definitely it, right? I mean, you're not connected to your life force, similar to another conversation we had on for another podcast that I do, but like the Just Two Conscious Guys talking, but just like with depression, like, okay, there's something you're not expressing, or something you're not embodying or being or whatever, like that's why you're not feeling so great right now, right? The shifts, I have found when I'm burned out in my business, I go flat, I'm not having fun, the money dries up in the business, everything shrinks down. I see it for others too, it's not just me, right? It happens to people. I've
Totally.
seen huge successful people in the marketplace, big name people, well-known people in those 7-figure plus areas, and they come crashing down when they burn out sometimes, and it doesn't mean they're at zero, but they're okay, now I'm a multi 6-figure business or something, like it happens. People come tumbling down because something isn't aligning for them, and then they have to find that alignment. And that's where people like me and you come in, maybe to help turn that energy around. But yeah, it's like they often when they're really successful, it seems like they've built this machine, right? I built this machine. It's a well-oiled machine, but they just feel so robotic, right? Like I'm just doing the same stuff, and yeah, I kind of like it still, but it just feels heavy. There's no innovation. There's the same old stuff, and that's what I've seen a lot of with. If we talk about like people that go to a higher level in their business, that's what I've seen a lot of. Is what things do you see in that realm?
Yeah, I was just talking to a guy the other day, owns a $1 million business, super burnt out. And he's doing all of the things, like he's meditating for 30 minutes every day. He's hitting 2 to 3 breathwork sessions every single day. He's working out. He's physically fit. He's taking and spending time with his children when he has his children. He's playing pickleball every now and then because it brings him joy. And so he's doing all of the right things, right? He's like, and he's even kind of admitting the truth, man, I'm burnt out and I'm doing recovery, right? And we worked together for a little bit for a day, and 2 days later, he received $235,000 in sales. And my theory is because we were with the stuck energy. It's like, well, he's doing recovery, but is he being recovery? And there is a distinction there. And I think for a lot of high performers, they find their self-worth, they find their connection to self through what they're performing or what they're achieving. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great thing. But when we lose ourself, or our identity is wrapped up in the process, well, then we even start relating to recovery as like, okay, I must do these things. I must go float once a week, and I must get a massage like it's very mechanical, like you're taking a car, or like you said, a robot into maintenance. I'm like, all right, let's grease the thingy, But we're human beings, like we are a spiritual being, and there's this connection. When we're connected to that essence, we naturally will create. Some people would be like, oh, well, if I made $1 million, or if I had, everybody has their number. If I made $10 million, $100 million, different numbers for different people, then they're like, I would just sit on a beach. I guarantee you, every single human being can sit on a beach or sit in a mountain or a cabin in the woods, whatever your thing is. You can only sit there so long. Maybe you sit there for 5 years, potentially. But something's going to happen where the innate nature in you is like, all right, I got to go create some stuff again, right? Like if we look at Christian scripture, it talks about how we're made in the image of God. And if that is true, I'm not saying it is true. I'm just saying if it is true at a principle level, then naturally we would just want to create. We'd want to be like a mini God who wants to go create our own reality. And in that we experience joy. And so I find when people move through whatever's energy is stuck in their body, whether it's hopelessness, powerlessness, apathy, rage, whatever is there, when they're just with it, without relating to it as, oh, I have to fix this about me, or there's something wrong with me, they're just with it and they can experience it somatically, it dissipates. And once it dissipates, there is this space of nothing. And most people be like, a space of nothing, that sounds terrible. I have experienced a space of nothing is actually very, very connective. And this is where all of the possibilities lie. And so when we're willing to surrender to the experience and fully express it somatically, and then we get to nothing, now possibilities, inspiration, ideas drop in. And then when we can trust ourselves, then they're like, oh, this one would bring me joy. And we take action on it, just like Troy did. Boom, he created $235,000. Was it something I did? I don't really like buying into that frame. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just serendipitous. Who knows? All I do know with certainty is we created a space to be with the energy. We felt it, we expressed it, and that then opened up a space for something to drop in. He's already a very highly talented, skillful guy. He takes actions on that, and then boom, he yields results. Rather than being like, oh, no, I can't do that. I mean, this is what's happening, and this is what's happening, and this is what's happening. I just don't have time for that. I just got to continue doing it, which is just going to create more and more burnt out and a lot more disconnection from self. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we probably do similar work in that regard with have different ways, but like similar, like, okay, you got stuck energy. All right, we need to move through that. And I've seen similar breakthroughs for people I've worked with in that regard too. Like even one session, like all of a sudden, like, boom, all my sales are going through the roof. And it's because the energy is just stuck, and once the energy gets turned up back on, it's like, whoa, let's start selling. Like, and now the sales energy is turned back on. Is how I talk about it too. But so yeah, I mean, totally. I know you have some practical, suggestions on how to do that. Because I mean, somebody who is versed in working through energy might be like, oh yes, you sit with it, you meditate, you go into the nothingness, you get inspired. But for some people, they don't know any processes, or they don't know the processes you're referring to. So that'd be great. Are there some specific processes that you give people to walk through that they could even maybe do on their own to help them to move through that stuck energy that they run into?
Yes, and I will get into them, but I want to back up to something you said. You talked about turning the energy on, right? Like if we're in burnout, our energy is off, and then we want to turn the energy on. So just notice how we, even if we buy into that frame, notice how we relate to energy inside the body as something that we turn on, or I have to do something to turn it, or something that's turned off, and then I have to do something to then turn it back on. And I feel like this is a trap that people think, especially higher producers, because they typically have this awareness because they've spent quite a bit on personal development and things of that nature. So they have this awareness that my life force energy seems hampered. It seems like it's less than it used to be, or it's turned off, or I just can't find my mojo, whatever their wording is around it. So I need to go do something so I can access it to then turn it back on. But I find this to be actually a trap that leads to more burnout, because we're actually not just being with ourself, because we're still out there like, oh, I have to go do this thing so I can then access this thing that's outside of me. But the reality is the energy is always on. Like we can't really turn it on or off, where we just choose to listen or not listen. Like it's always here. So all we have to do to just get back in the river flow is just come back home. Like make the decision to realize my answer to energy, to inspiration, is not out there. It's going to be right here by me being with whatever is present with me now, which now leads us to kind of like, well, what are the practical processes that we walk out? And I talked about this a little bit on the other podcast I did with you. And so we're going to end up going into it because it is a framework that's universally applicable. And so it's connect with the truth. Like, what is true for you now in this moment? Like, can we notice the body sensations? So I'm a big fan that all emotions are just energy in motion. And I also have experienced that typically emotions they have messages for us, right? So if we're feeling tenseness in our jaw or the back of our head or neck or shoulders, it is typically anger of some sort. And then the message of anger is this: I have this desire to change. Like life is this way, and I have this energy that's in my body where I want something to change, right? If we have tenseness or tightness or knots or constriction in the throat, like when I was dealing with Troy the other day, it was stuck. The energy was stuck right here in his throat. He had the awareness. The energy stuck in my throat. And then it was in the chest as well. This is sadness. Sadness could just be this message of, I feel like something has been taken from me. or something, I've lost something. And again, this could be true, or it could just be a part of you, maybe from your childhood, yesterday, whatever, a part of you who's relating to whatever is as something's been taken from them or they've lost something. Again, could be true, could not be true, but there's going to be energy. Or we're going to feel like energy in our belly. We're going to feel like tightness, constrictions, knots, which is just going to be more fear. So the first thing is like we could conceptualize, why am I feeling this way? Or what's causing this? And we could play in the land of concept, or we could just connect with the truth. What is the experience in my body? Am I feeling some anger, some sadness, some fear? And we could even ask this part of us, it's like, well, what are you afraid of? What are you angry of? What are you sad of? And there's some benefit to that because there's a part of you who has an answer where you can take what you get. And it's like, well, I really want this to change. And if we want that to change, then we could relate to that part of us and being like, okay, well, let's channel this energy into creating that, right? Or we could just drop into the second piece of this process, which is surrender to experience, which I find is highly beneficial. And lots of people haven't been trained to how to surrender somatically to their experience. It's like, well, once we're aware of this tension in our jaw, it's like, if I could put a sound to this, what would that sound be? If I could put a body movement to this, what would that body movement? And then we'll give ourselves permission to actually put the sound to the experience that we're experiencing. Can we put a body movement to it? And even ask yourself, if I could express this as a body movement 10% more, what would it be? If I could put a sound 10% more, what would it be? And then from there, once we're with the energy and we've, like, I'm going to say process it, but we're just giving it an outlet to be witnessed is really what we're doing. There becomes a space. And in that space, it's going to come back to, cool, what are you committed to creating? There's no right or no wrong. And for somebody who's in burnout, they may not know. And the real question is, can you be okay with not knowing? Can you be okay with not knowing? Can you actually be at peace with, if that's your truth, when you're in burnout and you're asking and you've been and you move the energy and you're like, well, what do you want to create next? What are you committed to? I don't know. Now, this is a really important distinction here because lots of entrepreneurs who create at a high level, when they get to burnt out and then they're sitting in the possibility of creating a new possibility, many of them are like, well, I thought I had the answer when I created everything I created now. And I did that because I wanted some version, typically, of love, either love from other people or love from God or whatever their frame for love is, or they wanted some version of security and they wanted some version of status. And now they've had the thing where they thought, well, I thought this vehicle that I created was going to bring me all of the love that I wanted to experience, all of the security I wanted to experience, and all of the status I wanted to experience. But I actually still feel the same way inside now as I did when I started that journey. So if I cast forth a new vision and go on a new journey, will I just create the same experience over again? And it's a good question to consider. And that's going to bring us right back to the process, which is like, cool, can you surrender to that experience of, man, I really don't know. I don't know what I want because I don't want to recreate this. I'm not really clear. If I cast something forth, I'm just kind of conceptually casting it forth. It's not inspiration coming through potentially. So can I be okay somatically with, I don't know? And if I can now surrender to the experience of, I don't know, the cool thing happens. The possibilities start entering into us. And then can we trust ourselves to start creating? Can we start trusting ourselves to realize, man, we have this blank slate in front of us. The past was past. That was then, this is now. That was them, this is me. And who I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 seconds ago, that was then, but this moment is now. And with all of the skill sets and the wisdom that I've accrued, can I trust myself to navigate a new journey, knowing that I have the awareness now to not repeat the mistakes of my past? But I've never seen an entrepreneur get to that place yet until they're willing to surrender to the experience of, I don't know. Because if they're not willing to surrender to the experience of, I don't know, then they typically just keep repeating the same mistakes, the same ways of being from the past. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, of course you would, right? Because you're going to run to the known and try to play there because that's what you know. And you could kind of go to the old playbook because you don't trust the unknown. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of conceptualizing these things. I mean, we've got the great void, we've got I also say that we operate from zeros and ones, contrary to kind of what it sounded like you were saying, but I believe there is either that energy is saying, yes, let's move forward, or it's saying, no, we're not moving forward. It's linear in my opinion. It's not like we're indifferent. We don't care. We'll go or we won't go. Like usually these energies that are contracted, they're saying, no, it's a zero right now, right? Well, when we flip the energy, it goes to one. But I understand what you're saying. It's like, if you're not careful, you're just constantly chasing, like, is it on? Is it off? It probably should be on all the time. And like, now you're chasing that, right? And we're not looking at the greater context of who you are and just, how there is ebbs and flows and all this sort of thing. And, one of my
Yes.
clients
Yeah.
was talking about, like, he's been doing great. He's doing tremendous, but we all run into those places where it's like, I don't know, right now I'm just not feeling like moving forward and with his next thing. And it's like, it's okay. I've been with the client long enough. I'm like, listen, it's okay. We don't have to do anything, but we don't have to get you motivated and make you do it or all that. Okay, that's where you are right now. It's okay. So I wasn't trying to imply like we have to flip all that energy like crazy. We're just, constantly working that energy like that. There's a time for everything. So it's kind of, I like that first point you make with what is the truth, just getting an awareness of what's going on, just being curious. We never really know the full truth of anything, right? But we can connect with what seems to be true. Well, it kind of seems like this. It kind of seems like that, right? And then we can kind of, navigate the path along the lines of what you said, for sure, right? I mean, totally. It's a totally great way to do it. And then we can start to see like, well, geez, if I can trust the unknown, and knowing that that's maybe the best thing I could trust. Honestly, it's like the more unknown it is, the more fun it'll probably be, and the more growth there is, and the more potential. So the way I hear it, anyway, from your, I don't know what you're intending, but like, I'll just say, like, to me, that's where the awesome stuff is where the unknown is, and to allow ourselves to embrace more of that. I think that's a big part of it, because if you're burnt out, it's like, I can't trust that unknown. I got to keep going on this wheel, right?
Exactly. It's like coming back to your 0 and 1 analogy. The 0 is like, let's do this or not do that. But then the 1 for this person is actually their mind, because maybe the energy, like your client, is like, let's sit and relax for today or tomorrow. Who knows how long that lasts? But then the mind is like, but we must, right? And so we're not trusting ourselves just to like, I'm going to trust this is where the energy wants me to be today. And even that's a tricky one because it's like, well, how does one not become like indulgent in their wishy-washy spirit and know the distinction between the spirit that's leading them versus just, I don't know, the subtle animal part of you that's just there to fuck you up. Like there is a thing within humans that no matter what level you play, it's just there to fuck with you. I call it fuckery, is what I call it, divine fuckery. And it's what is ultimately propelling us to our own growth. And so it has its own purpose, but we do have to have this awareness of it. And wisdom is really even like being surrendered into the unknown, where you even take a step back from even that and you can watch it. And then from that, you even have a newfound awareness of what is the fuckery piece that's always there, and your essence that really is pulling you or letting you kind of ebb and sit. And that's just a bit of, I don't know how to describe it, or it's just
the absolute truth to me is always the biggest tell. It's like, let's be honest with ourselves. What's the absolute truth of what's really going on? And with that inquiry, reveals a lot. That's what I find.
Awesome.
To the absolute truth as far as we can tell, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I love that. You're right. There is that animal part that's just like, well, it's not so bad to burn out in a way. Like as much as people complain about where they are, well, it's not so bad after all. Look, I'm making all this money. I've got, it's like the golden handcuffs for those. Again, you might be burnout making no money, but even if that's true, like, oh, it's not so bad. At least I'm surviving. Whatever it is. Oh, it's not so bad because like, and then it could be like, I don't know. My body just says like, just chill out. Like we don't have to do anything. And like, so you're right. I mean, there is that part where let's just get that part that just wants to keep everything safe and homeostasis. That's good for us, right? That's how I kind of see part of the what you're calling fuckery. It's just like, no, homeostasis is good. That's how we stay alive and stay well, and we chill out and yeah. But how about the adventure? What about boldness? What about creativity? What about being like being fearless and like facing something that seems really scary, but you do it anyway? And like the huge energy that comes with that. It's nothing like that as well. So yeah, I think a lot of times people are just looking for some static state to, in the spiritual realm especially, right? Let's get to this static state where it's just everything's perfect, I'm fully awake and everything works, and finally the whole world is singing kumbaya together, and it always is that way every single day, and it never ends, and we all have millions of dollars or whatever. Like some weird place that we think we're going to, I think. And I just I know myself, I bought into that stuff in the past, like probably whatever, 10 years ago or whatever it was, I probably bought into that. And then it's like, I remember one speaker one time saying like, yeah, let's get it all perfect, then freeze dry it, and then we're good. Don't move anybody or we're going to screw it up. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like,
Yeah. One of the through lines that I see that perpetuates burnout is if somebody's creating something, whether it means they're wanting to be adventurous, they're wanting to create, they're wanting to whatever it is that they want to do. If they're doing so from a deeper place where, if they really get honest, they're doing it because they feel like they need to prove something or they need to defend something. Because it almost violates the law of being, right? Law of being states that the world gives us exactly that which we are at our core consisting of the thoughts and the feelings that we hold on to predominantly. So if at the root, our way of being, even if it's unconscious, and typically it is for 70% of humanity, we feel like we have to prove or defend our right to exist. And so no matter what we create from that way of being, it's just going to perpetuate more proving, more defending, more proving, more defending, more proving, more defending, which ultimately leads to burnout. When one can sort through and untangle the need to prove and really come home that you're perfect, whole, and complete right here, right now, and that your beingness is enough to unfold everything that you're here to experience, well, then you can start approaching creation from a place of, I create because I choose to create. I'm not fueled by this deeper push because I have to prove something, whether it's to them out there or to me here or to God here or out there, wherever somebody's frame of God or the universe is. They're not needing it to defend, like, well, if I don't defend this, then it's just, there's a deeper, cleaner place of, I create, or I choose to be adventurous, or I choose joy because it's what I choose. And in that, then there's freedom to just be you and create that which you feel you're called here to create.
that's so true. I mean, that's that whole, yeah, deeper connection that we're talking about. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's why the silent meditation retreat, the Vipassanas and things like that are so helpful. And even lose the meditator now, and even lose that, and lose it all, and like, and just be, and that freedom. And then yeah, there's that ability then just to choose to, it's just to choose from that connected place. Really, ultimately, is usually where the good stuff is. So, like from a connected space of, like you said, inspiration. Like, okay, now that I already realize I'm whole, yeah. Because I mean, there's definitely early within my career online, like I was definitely trying to prove something. I'm like, I will finally show these motherfuckers I can I can succeed and I'm going to be badass and all this stuff. So, all right. Okay. Now you did it. Now what? Well, let's keep doing it. All right. Great. There you go. You could keep doing it. And I always say, like, to tell people that are in that cycle, I'm like, okay, I tell them ahead of time, well, then you could just keep doing it. And then what are you going to do? Then I'll just keep doing it. Then what are you going to do? Then I'm going to okay. And then do it a million more times. Then what are you going to do? All right, I'll probably let go of it eventually. So don't you start realizing you won't want to do it forever. Because actually, most of the time I say, now do it forever really fast. And they're like, yeah, I don't want to do it forever. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Because isn't that what they really want, right? So totally, it's totally not what they want. They want to experience what you're talking about. I want to come from the infinite space. And if I'm guided and feel a connection that I'm supposed to be doing this thing, and it feels fun and amazing and expanded, let's do it. Yes, right? So,
Yeah. One of the crazy things that I've experienced in my own journey is when I unraveled my need to achieve anything, when I unraveled my need to prove or defend. And there's a space for like, well, I choose to drink coffee out of this weird ass little mug because I like it. It brings me happiness, when I'm in that place, then there's a part of me, like it's always my mind, that's like, well, is this really inspiration? How do you know this is actually inspiration? Is this really what you're called to? Maybe it's not, right? And so even in that, there's a step back of like, at some point, you just choose because you choose it. End of story. And you can do whatever you chose for as long or as little as you want. So an example, growing up, I played Nintendo 64, but I was never a gamer. A lot of my friends were, and I really wanted to be because I enjoyed hanging out with them, but I just lost interest after about 30 minutes. But I had a really fun time for 30 minutes. But after that, I wanted to go do athletics or something different. Or I really enjoyed just hanging out with them, and I'd watch them kind of beat the game or whatever, and I was just hanging out and I was cool with it. So I recently, I went and bought a Nintendo 64. We put it here in our sunroom, and I got a couple of games. And so I'm about a 30-minute person. I'll play for 30 minutes and I'm like, that was good. Time to go do something completely different. But if I didn't give myself permission just to do that or be that way, then I'm going to be stuck in my head. It's like, well, if I was really committed, I'd really find the thing that would rejuvenate my spirit, and I would do it for hours at a time. And as I watch my child, she's 4. It's very interesting because I'll watch her color, and maybe and especially when she was younger, when she was 2 or whatever, maybe she colored for 5 minutes and then she'd move on to something else and then something else and then something else. And then of course, as she ages and her brain gets a little bit more developed, and she has longer and longer attention spans. But what's interesting observing that is she's not sitting there in her own mind judging herself because she can't focus or choose the one thing that's going to rejuvenate her spirit. She's not. She's just being, and from that beingness, there's certain creations that are happening and exuding from that, which is very interesting. And so I've had to come back to that possibility because so long ago, I quit asking myself, what does AJ need? What does AJ want? For me, probably around 18 months to 2 years old, I realized even if I cried or I said I needed something, it wasn't going to happen. So the best way that I could get the love that I wanted to experience was like, what do you guys want to experience? You guys tell me, and fuck it, I'll create that with you. Sounds like a good time. And then that worked for me for a really, really long time until I had created everything that I wanted to experience. But I had done so on the foundation of, well, you guys just tell me what I should want. And so there wasn't this like conditioning or this training where I could trust myself fully to be like, hey, even checking in, AJ, what do you want today? Well, I'd like to play Nintendo for 30 minutes. Okay, cool. Go play Nintendo. Like there's a freedom there where I can naturally follow myself while also trusting that it's leading unto the greatest unfulfillment or unfulfillment of me, if that makes sense. And so the mistake I see for a lot of people who actually go through some of the deeper work to get to a place of, well, I could choose anything, I just don't know what to choose. It kind of results back to like this deeper inclination of like, what can you give yourself permission to be for? And just maybe trust yourself on choosing this for as long, because eventually you're going to re-land on your next thing. So I hope that serves somebody as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I love the gaming thing. I'm like, you're with Nintendo 64. I mean, why don't you have a Switch? You know,
I
come on.
know, I know.
But it's a kind of fun that you do, right? So, but yeah, we've got a Nintendo Switch, and I use it more than anybody in the family. I mean, I just go down there, play the NBA, game, or there's another game I play and whatnot, and I'm similar, like sometimes I do play for an hour or whatever, but like often it's 20, 30 minutes, max. And then I'm like, okay, that's about enough, like it's just like a break. I usually do it mostly at the end of the day. On the weekends it could be other times, maybe sometimes, but it is like, just it feels like fun because sometimes it just energizes me. I'm like, oh yeah, boom, 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 boom with the game. And it's like, all right, now what do we want to go do? It gets my energy moving, right? And it feels positive. I have this like what do they call it? Like this aesthetic or whatever. What do they call this? A spiritual aesthetic? Is that the name? Is that the term? But whatever, like that. I've got that, I think, in maybe my past lives or something, but like perfectionism, maybe it is. But like I used to run into some of that. Like I wasn't being what I thought was perfect ever, right? Because you always judge yourself short, right? I missed it there too, but of like, okay, I shouldn't be like kind of pointing what you said. I shouldn't be playing a video game. I shouldn't be doing. I shouldn't just have fun to have fun. So, like I'd run into times like that, like especially in business or whatever. Like, no, it's time to just get serious and just get the damn results. It's time to go deeper. It's time to finally wake the fuck up and go to the deepest place and just stay there, damn it. Finally, just stay there. Like, don't go play video games. That's totally going to destroy your spiritual path. Like, it had like these kind of like crazy ideas about what I was supposed to be doing to really wake up and really get those results and stuff. And then it's just like, I came to realize like, oh my God, this is the biggest bunch of nonsense. It's so much BS. It's just all the mind, like the strategies. How do we get somewhere other than where we already are? It's really hilarious when you come to the other side of it to notice like how it operates, and it creeps in, for all of us here and there,
Totally.
even after we get to the other side of it, sort of. But like, okay, now I realize, that game that I was playing myself, and but we're so conditioned to think we're trying to get somewhere, like you were kind of saying before, like, oh, we're trying to get somewhere. Not exactly, it's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, the way I've experienced that over the past this past year actually, I was working with a coach named Matt Laughlin. Love that guy. And
Mhm.
so I had realized a lot of what I had created was out of grandiosity, which all stem back from just toxic shame. And so when we experience toxic shame, and everybody does, every human does, there's two responses. We either say, I'm less than human, and we basically disassociate from our essence, and we're like, ah, fuck it, when we're in apathy and addictions and all of that. Or we may say, well, I'm going to be more than human. I am going to attempt to be God, and I'm going to be a creator of my reality. And then we kind of like compensate for the toxic shame. And I did that for a really long time, from record offers, big deals, big dreamers. And a lot of entrepreneurs do. They create out of grandiosity. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. We're just pointing at a deeper distinction. And Matt issued me a challenge when I was working with Matt for, I think we worked together for 6 months. He said, AJ, would you be willing to be an ordinary man with an ordinary wife, with an ordinary child, in an ordinary house? Like, what if you embodied that over the next 6 months? And I didn't realize how deep of untangling me choosing to go down that path was going to happen. But it challenged all of my identity and unraveled no, I'm not going to say my entire identity, but it did unravel a whole bunch. And so there's this tension between grandiosity and I'm creating this because I want significance, which, we all have an ego. And I don't think that we should get rid of it because it seems to have a way to naturally express on earth. And there's goodness that comes from it. So I'm not one of these people who's like, destroy the ego. Like it has its place. But if we're not careful, it is like, well, it's going to be on an endless hunt for grandiosity and significance, which never ends. And then on the spiritual side of things, it's like, yeah, I'll just be an ordinary human. And if we're not careful with that one, then we may end up like India and other systems that believe that. And I'm not saying all of India, but there's a lot of in the Eastern philosophy, it's just like, well, this is my karma, this is my fate, it is what it is. And they're
Mhm.
almost like a victim to this ideology of
Mhm.
fate and being ordinary.
Mhm.
And I'm more of like, can we combine the East and West? Could have like a
Mhm.
middle way that maybe Jesus was
Mhm.
talking about, this middle way,
Mhm.
where we
Mhm.
can use our ideas and our dreams and trust that to unfold. But I'm also willing to accept if this isn't the in my cards, like I'm going to do everything in my power to show up, do what's required. But I'm also like, life is going to be what it is, and I'm just going to be an ordinary person. So I'm not living in this place of resistance, right? I'm
Mhm.
not resisting this ordinariness, but I'm also not indulging in like, I have to create this grand thing.
Mhm.
Instead, there's like this loose, holding it loosely, almost like with open hands a bit. That is just kind of this natural unfurlment of me being me, and what will be, while I'm also still taking responsibility for casting forth a vision and creating plans and holding myself accountable, while also just loving myself along the way. And for anybody who's burnt out, I'd really invite you into that tension, because unless you can resolve that tension, you're just going to pendulum swing between these two ditches of like, I gotta go and be significant and grandiose thinking, and then you're going to burn out again. And then you're going to be like, oh, let's go over to the spiritual stuff and let's zen out and let's just accept life like it is, and it is what it is. I'm inviting you into that tension, because when you're in that tension, I experience every single person actually becomes their creator of whatever it is that they want to experience.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I like that. So yeah, it's kind of the definitely like the yin yang kind of thing, isn't it? I mean, it's like, yeah, it's not either or, it's both. It all is what it is. I just don't think you can exactly get things wrong. I mean, really, I mean, like you are where you are, enjoy it. And there's another level where I say, and this is also good for people for burnout practical tips we're talking here, and you're giving most of them, but I mean, I just what comes to mind is just I always say it doesn't get any better than it is right now. It never does. I mean, nothing will ever be better than it is right now in the absolute realm. Like, I mean, and we're connected to that always. Like, that is the number one realm. That is the realm, I mean, so like it really never does get any better. But from your mind's, interpretation, 100%, it's better times and bad times and all kinds of times. And that's fun too. But another level, like it never gets any better. So, and that's to the ego that's chasing things. It's like, oh, that's so fun. Let's not say that. Like, but actually, like from that deeper place, it's like, of course, it's just perfect. It's so amazing. It's so liberating. That way, whether you think you were totally doing, you totally were significant, or you totally felt like you were insignificant, it doesn't matter. Everything's perfect. It never gets any better. And so that's helped me a lot. I know, like just recognizing like there is a sameness that they talk about in life. And I think there is a beauty. I mean, if that's the way people choose to be, like, oh, I'm a beggar this life, that's my karma. I mean, I'm not going to judge that person. Maybe there's a beauty to that, to be just surrendered a whole lifetime to that. There's a far bigger picture, right? But if they start having an idea, maybe they like to have it to be different, then people can be there to help guide them with that. Okay, here's how it could be different, right? You don't have to be resigned to what you think your karma is if you don't want to be. Like, again, it's that choice thing you brought up before, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody being willing to take radical responsibility for their choices. It's whatever you choose, and there is going to be natural consequences to those choices. And even not making a choice is still making a choice, right? And when I say choice, because there are some external things that we do not have control over. Like when my wife was diagnosed for cancer, I do not have control over, well, I want it to go away or I don't want that to happen. And here we are 2 years later, and the cancer is stagnant, but she's in chronic pain. I have no influence, and neither does she have over, I want chronic pain to go away. Because some things just is, right? They just are. But what she does have control over, and every single one of us does, is how are we going to choose to respond to what is? Are we going to choose to be a victim to what is? And if that's what you want to choose, then you're going to have the experience of victimhood. And by all means, if you want that experience, have that experience. But there's also a place, if somebody wants to choose it, where they're a creator. It's like, well, how do you want to choose to respond to this? Do you want to accept, yeah, I hurt today and my pain level is 5? And what do you want to do? Think I want to sleep today. Great, sleep, right? There's still a place where there's fulfillment and there can be joy, even when we're experiencing some of the harder things that are hard to comprehend and wrap our minds around as a human.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I know for myself, when we talk about at that level, I always talk about my back pain journey and everything. And yeah, at some point, you could complain about it. You could be sorry for yourself. You could be whatever. 'Cause it's so disabling, right? I mean, you can barely focus, you can barely work or whatever. And like, okay, I could be all, caught up in that. Or I could just be like, experience the sweetness of it. As strange as it sounds, there's a sweetness to every moment, no matter what we're experiencing. And when we can connect with that, we can experience anything as being, even bliss. I mean, quite frankly, I know it sounds bizarre to the mind, but we can. It's accessible to us.
Yeah.
And I find like that's where shifts start to happen anyway. That's where things start to move forward anyway. And maybe we don't have all the control in the world, so to speak, over, because I know there's a healer listening right now. I'll be like, all right, AJ, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to cheer her up. I'm going to clear that cancer. I do this all day long. And and there's probably somebody thinking that right now. And I hear where they're coming from too. And yet I know, like, if it's part of, if it's where that person is, it's like, that's your condition. Like, okay, I'm in my back pain. I have all the healers in the world. All right, you're healing. And if something inside me says, no, we need to stay here, I'm staying here. You're not going to be able to heal me. Exactly. So there's something we're gaining through the burnout, through the pain, through the whatever. There's something we can gain from it. And I've also learned, like, just flipping out of the energy constantly necessarily isn't the best thing for us all the time either. So there's no one size fits all to all these things. It just gets back to what AJ, what you said so clearly early on, is what's true. Let's look at what's true right now and kind of figure it out from there, so to speak.
Exactly. And for a lot of high performers, I find that the best way, practically speaking, for them to align with what is true, go work with somebody who's willing to be a mirror for you, not somebody who's going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear. Like somebody who's ultimately going to hold up a mirror and let you see what is. You may not like it, or you may like it, but get in the presence of somebody, because it's going to help you collapse time, just to be like, here's what's true. What are we going to do about this? That way we're not like, well, I don't care about your stories. Don't care about what happened. This is what's true. What are we going to choose to do about this? If we want to do nothing, that's fine. Let's just admit the truth. I want to do nothing and I want to wallow in victimhood. Great. Let's wallow in some victimhood. But if you're committed to creating, we have to be like, mirror, this is what is true. From this place, what is it you choose? Find somebody who's going to help you do that, because that's what's going to collapse time for you to like go on to whatever it is next that you want to experience.
Yeah, so a lot of good stuff today. Absolutely, I'm loving this, AJ. So I know that you have some free resources for people, getting really practical, right? You have some free resources to help people to backed by science methods, right? For more peace and calm, etc. So yeah, we tell them about it.
Yeah, if people want to learn how to cut their stress by 30%, you just go to ajamyx.com and just download the guide completely there for you. You also could go to ajamyx.com/resources. And so that guide to learn how to reduce your stress by 30% is there. But I also have like a breathing exercise that I can teach you that will also help you reduce your stress and get you out of your head and back into your body, and will totally 100% drop you back into inspiration. So those are 2 resources that don't cost you anything that you could totally play with.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you can find more if you're inspired by AJ and want to learn more about how he could help you. I'm sure you'll find that along the way if you go to that link that we'll put in the show notes. And yeah, so AJ, this is just so great. We're at the point of the show where I do some tune-ins on the guests and whatnot. Everybody listening, get out your notepad. You want to know more about AJ? We're going to download a few things. I think he'll resonate with whatever comes through for the most part. Usually the guests tend to, for sure. So, and it'll be something in it for you. You go, oh my God, that sounds like me. It happens all the time. So something in it for you guys. So AJ, you ready to receive a few downloads here?
I am. I'm excited to see what comes through. It's gonna be like, AJ, you're a piece of shit. Okay.
Your worst fear. No, I'm just joking. All right, let's see what comes through. So I'll share 3 and then we'll talk about whatever came through. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, that's fun. So I bet you use this a lot. I don't know how fully aware and connected you are to understanding this. You know it about yourself, but I don't know, how powerful it is and like how much you fully use it and totally realize how amazing it is. Like there's a deeper appreciation that wants to happen with this gift that you have. All right. So so you've got that ability when you said to be a mirror. So you have that ability, because as I was starting to do my process, I just do that because it's just something I like to do. I just like to do that. I don't need to do a process to just like, but that's what I see in you. I see like you can do that with people. You could see them, you could just be like, listen, this is because your grandma died, last year, and then this happened, that happened. You could speak like really fast. You could like download all this information, pop out of their head and be like, how do you know all this about me? So you have that gift, like that we all have, again, to some degree, but you've honed it through the lifetimes to be extremely intuitive and be able to download all kinds of information about people. So so that's a really powerful gift that you have that in itself is transformative, because when people are seen like that, it helps to shift them. So anyway, so I just want to acknowledge that gift in you, and then let's see what else comes through. So one of the things is I do sense there's a concern there, like you were kidding around with what you said, but then there's also a truth in it, in that I do get a sense with your field, like there are some concerns about maybe people seeing all of you, like, well, I hope they don't see that much of me, right? Like that, like I have to see a lot, but oh my God, don't go that far now. So there are like some places that are a little scary for you, and you wouldn't want other people maybe to see inside yourself. So just noticing that. So yeah, okay. And then let's see what else comes through. Yeah, it's just really showing me what this dual nature you have of being, you could actually be extremely maternal, like extremely maternal. You could be very, okay, what do you want? You want more cookies? You want more of this? Like, but you have such a ability to flip into that whatever. Yeah, there's the fierce feminine, fierce masculine, right? But that fierceness that it may still seem weird because again, you're similar to me in this way, that you have these extreme shifts, like you could be extremely like sharp and all that, then you could be extremely compassionate, be the infinite space, but also be extremely or quite maternal. Let me say that. I don't know, extremely might sound too extreme. So, but like this maternal, like, oh, it's okay, like you have that in you, but I don't know that you fully trust that part of you yet. So I feel like there's more growth there. I think you've really learned to trust your fierceness a lot. There's always more, but I actually think there might be more growth on the other end. So yeah, all right. So there's lots of things we could talk about, but I just want to share a few things that are coming through, AJ. So yeah, what's reflections or thoughts come through as I share that what was coming through?
Yeah, thanks for sharing your gifts with me. So number one, the first thing you said was my ability to be a mirror. So yes,
Yeah.
definitely my zone of genius. The two, not wanting people to like know this about me. It's related for me for the mirror because I internally wrestle like, well, if I really embraced a mirror,
Mm,
will people do they really value the mirror?
mm,
They really value the mirror because the reality of a mirror is it has its place, but do you really want to spend your whole day in front of a mirror? Do you
mhm,
want to meet with a mirror every single week?
mhm,
Like it
mhm.
has its place, right? A mirror has its place, but the reality is it's like, oh, this is what strip mirror, I'm gonna go play. And you come back to the mirror to see things, but there's this deeper fear of like, well, if I'm just gonna be a mirror, lots of people aren't gonna like what they see. And so therefore then I'm not accepted, which I don't need them to accept me, but I actually enjoy being with people, which kind of leads to this third piece, which
Mhm,
is the mirror can be extremely fierce and call people to like rise up into their potential. It's very, I'd probably say divine father. It's very calling forth, like seeing what's good in somebody and calling them forth into that. But the maternal side that I've accessed over the past 2 years through my wife's journey and all of my own inner work is being able to meet people in the bottom of that pit. And so there's a way to call people up that I'm learning
mhm,
that that that's like an integrated maternal paternal thing. I don't
mhm,
know how to put words around it,
mhm,
but
mhm.
there's this way to fully accept. I'll call it a child as they are, while also holding the space for them to choose to rise and do whatever's next for them. But there's still this maternal loving space of I'm going to accept you no matter what you choose.
Right,
Just
right.
what is it you're going to choose? And then there's also for me, um, I don't want to play with people who just want to be accepted as the way they are. I get very bored. Like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
well, I can accept you the way you are. I can accept myself the way I am.
Mhm.
But fuck, can we go create some cool shit and go dance and play together? Because if not, then I don't want to spend my time or my presence or my energy with you. So
Right.
for me, there's this shift even in the people that I'm serving and the price points of playing with a very relentless individual, I guess is what you'd call it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Wow. So you're, yeah, that guy. So you just learned more about how awesome AJ is, and also you get to see more like, wow, I would really want that, or I really relate to that. I feel like I'm sort of like that. Maybe I should get closer to AJ, right? So, or you might be like, oh shit, I don't like that. I'm out of here. That's fine
Totally,
too.
totally, 100%.
So whatever it is, it's coming up for you. It's great. But yeah, I'm grateful that you allowed me to download some stuff so people can see you more. So yeah.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to check me out, you can go to my website, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. Just go ahead, opt in for the free meditate and make money meditation. If it feels good for you, if you choose, you've got 1,000,000% free will. I'll just say that it's good. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain, right? Just go ahead, take it in. People universally have told me they love it. Maybe the people that don't like it just don't tell me. I don't know, but like people do make more money. Opens up your energy, turns on money energy inside you and other cool stuff, and you get your downloads for the day. What wants to happen? What's next? Let that inspiration drop in. So meditate, make money, meditation, yoursacredpurpose.com. And you can get one of your own Rock'em Sock'em energy scan consultations, a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation. I'll take a look at your energy and we'll figure some stuff out. And it's because I'm an energetic and strategic coach for your business to help you to rock, to help you to go from where you are now to rock to that next level in your business and in your awakening in your life and all the rest as well. So check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right, AJ. Well, any last words for the audience today?
No, I don't have any last audience or last inspiration. I mean, the only thing that's come through is like as you're listening to this, and if you're dealing with burnout or maybe you're in apathy or frustration, my encouragement is give yourself permission just to be you. Like you don't have to be anything more than that. You have nothing to prove, nothing to defend. And when you will choose to embody just being you, whatever wants to flow forth from that is naturally going to happen, and it's probably going to be beautiful, and it's going to be amazing. And if you have fears of like, oh well, then I would just do nothing, this is bullshit and nonsense, because if you are an entrepreneur and you are a producer, you can't help but produce, but to create. It's who you are.
Yeah, hallelujah, guys. All right, let's get to creating together. All right, let's do it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm so grateful to have had you on, AJ. It's always amazing and powerful to be with your energy, and I just appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being on today. And thank you for everybody for listening in. Keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time. Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.